What's up, guys? Ricci here, bringing you episode 4 of the F1 podcast. It is me, Ricci, and my co-host Andrew.
What's up, guys and girls?
And my other co-host Erica.
What's up, y'all?
And it is Friday night, so we don't normally do it this late during the week, but today is going to be a double header. We're going to touch a little bit about the Dutch Grand Prix as we roll into the Italian Grand Prix. And also, there's been a lot going on this week in terms of driver changes. So we're going to touch a bit about that. And also, we're going to answer some fan questions because we love the fans and we appreciate all the questions we got. Before we start, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And big announcement, we are on SoundCloud. I'm on the regular SoundCloud, so I can't post a lot, but we are on SoundCloud. I think you could do a first preview of the first 3 episodes, maybe this episode, depending on how long, but we'll see. But anyways, just want to thank everybody for the support. Andrew, myself, and Erica really appreciate it. So I think without further ado, let's talk about the Supermax Dutch Grand Prix. As no secret,
Super Max, Max, Super Max, Super Max.
Max Verstappen pulls off a home win at his home Grand Prix, and Red Bull seized the day that day. It's no question about it. So the standings went: Max Verstappen 1, Hamilton 2, Bottas 3, Gasly 4, Leclerc 5, Fernando Alonso 6, Carlos Sainz 7th, Sergio Perez 8, Ocon 9, Lando Norris 10, and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess I'll just open up the floor to the team. Let's start with Andrew. What were your thoughts of the Dutch Grand Prix?
So I thought overall I love the track. Personally, I thought it was a really interesting track. It was very physically demanding track from what I've heard from Hamilton, especially if you're trying to catch up the entire time. There's not much time for a break. To me, the overall race, not many high moments for me. Like a few key moments though was Max blowing out everybody out of the water. Like it was a clear, evident W. With the whole Dutch supporters behind him and all the orange flare smoke coming into the finish line. He was looking glorious. I think Pierre Gasly was tremendous in that AlphaTauri car. He really pushed. Charles even said it on the in the post-race conference that he couldn't catch up to Pierre, which is crazy considering like it's AlphaTauri. We're talking about Ferrari. You know what I mean? Like I know Ferrari's had like a bit of a dip in performance the past couple of years, but still, like the Honda engine was immaculate this weekend for Zandvoort, and I think I want to say that. It's kind of a sign to come for Gasly. I think he's going to finish in the top 5 going forward because I really think he's on top of form right now in that AlphaTauri.
Erica, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the race itself, we saw some drama start to unfold within a few of the teams. I mean, especially early on with Alpine, seeing Ocon and Alonso kind of going back and forth over the radio, like Ocon saying he's too slow, I need to get past, and Alonso being like, oh, if he says I'm too slow, I'm gonna pick it up then. I have my note just from the beginning. It says Fernando, king of overtakes, because right at the beginning we were like a couple laps in and he had already passed, I think, Gio and Ocon, so I was like, oh, he's making moves so early on, which was fun to see. And I mean, I think it was just one of those, in a way, like as fun as it was and as exciting it was to be at this track again for the first time in so long, I thought it was a pretty stereotypical race for the most part. I mean, we saw some movement on the grid, obviously, with like Checo overtaking so many people in order to fight his way into the points. Very surprised with Norris's performance that he really couldn't find any pace in the McLaren car. I mean, he was out in Q1, which was insane. Like I don't think anyone expected that at all. But I mean, we're 5 laps in and we have Hamilton complaining about his tires, which is
not once, not twice, not 3 times. I think the F1 meme, we'll get to F1 memes, but there must have been like 7 complaints throughout the whole race. And even Max Verstappen said, is Hamilton complaining about his tires again?
Yeah, because GP came on the radio and he gave a time. It was just I think the race was running so smoothly that he's like, okay, was he complaining about something or what? Just classic.
Exactly. Like it was just so funny. I mean, we always joke about that, but for it to be so early on, like you're literally 5 laps into a race, even on a soft tire, you're expecting to probably go for like at least 20 on such a short track, even though you're just like giving her on the banks and everything. But I really wanted to commend Red Bull because I think it was awesome. Like when Hamilton pitted as early as he did for new tires, they responded extremely quickly and were able to, kind of, if they needed to, it could have been a one-stop strategy on those hard tires, but to then kind of push it to try to, battle back at the end when Mercedes went for the two-stopper. I think it was just really great work and shows, how effective they are. We've seen them be so quick in the pit, even though, they've kind of changed the regulations and they have to take a little bit more time now, but it just proves that they're a machine and that they're not really out of the running when it comes to the Constructors' Championship just yet.
To your point, Erica, I was going to say, I think Red Bull left points on the table because I think if Checo didn't flat spot his tire going into turn one that early on the hards, they could have had a top 7. I would say they could have finished around 5th, 6th. Like I think Checo could have finished around 5th, 6th, and who knows, right? And those are big points considering now the gap is 12 points for constructors.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I kind of forgot about that. I mean, I was really surprised because starting from the pit lane as he did, I wouldn't have expected, kind of that lockup going into the first turn because there wasn't really as much traffic going on around him. But it definitely, I think, altered the course of Checo's race versus what we would have seen had that not happened. Absolutely.
Can we just take in that Max Verstappen is 23 years old? And I don't know if you guys saw this stat. He broke 1,000 laps. It's one of my notes, 1,000 laps led already. And he's 23 years old.
It's crazy.
That's
like
insane.
And to think, I wonder if Lewis had retired, say, earlier, I wonder how many world championships Max would have had by now in that Red Bull car.
I'm going to say at least 2.
At least 2, yeah, I think so.
At least 2.
Yeah, from the last 2. Like, definitely, I think last year and the year before, he was a strong contender for it. So had Hamilton. I mean, I just saw an article today that kind of popped up on Google. There's rumors that Hamilton's maybe going to hang around for the end of this contract, maybe another 2-year extension, but he's getting older. I mean, as much as we see Alonso hanging around for so long and still just absolutely crushing it, I don't know if Hamilton's going to be willing to stick around the same way with all the other stuff he's got going on. So
I think like it's tougher for him to stick around longer as Alonso because he's been winning so much, and that constant pressure of having to be the world number 1, I think it's just starting to getting to him, I think, a little bit, in the sense that it's just constant pressure, especially media attention in Britain for him being number 1. I would love personally to see, I know this is a pretty bad take, but I would love to see, or some people might say it's a bad take, I would love to see Hamilton win 10 world titles, because that would be like the double-digit world championships. It would be insane. And the core of racing in terms of Russell, Leclerc, Gasly, Max, like they're so young still that there's going to be many of years ahead where there's going to be tremendous racing when Hamilton leaves. But it would be really interesting to see if Max could get to 10. If Lewis could get to 10.
I think that would obviously be the dream, because I can't see, obviously we're going to get into some of the driver changes that happened this week, but I cannot see Lewis Hamilton going anywhere from Mercedes. Like, he is going to be there towards till the end of his career. And yeah, like I want to jump into the drivers, but not just yet, because we have our favorite new segment that has been requested, and everyone's excited about this. We can say for the F1 memes, what was your favorite meme from this weekend at the Dutch Grand Prix? I'm going to start with Erica. What was your favorite?
Go to Andrew. I feel like there's just, oh man, I've spent most of my time on Instagram looking at the F1 troll account and just absolutely staring at it. You guys have seen it in all of our group chats. I'm just like, here's a meme. Here's a meme.
So for those that are new to the pod, I know this is only episode 4, but we want to recommend everyone follow the F1 troll _ on Instagram. It has got the best fire memes of Formula One. And as I'm late to the show, I'm literally pulling up my favorite one. I think my favorite one had to be, I don't know.
I got so my
go
my
Andrew, go,
favorite
please.
one is Avengers Endgame when Captain Rogers comes back, right? That picture on the bench, and James says Valtteri about the fastest lap attempt, and Valtteri goes, "No, I don't think I will."
My favorite one is the that was posted like last week, where it was the Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's Jack Sparrow, who is Lewis, and he's just running, and then all the Dutch fans are, all the pirates are the Dutch fans, and all like Total Wolf, or they're all on the boat. They're like, come. Just trying to escape out of the Dutch Grand Prix alive. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Erica.
So mine was from I don't know, it was a few days ago, but it's a Rick and Morty spoof. So you know how Rick made the butter robot and it's like, what is my purpose? And so you just put butter on toast. That's it. Oh my God. And it's Bottas. And it's like, what is my purpose? You sacrifice your race to maybe cost Verstappen a second. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Or another one I loved this week was the meme of who they're like, I forget who's lying down, and it's like looking at the picture, and it's Gunter Steiner looking at last year's Haas team.
Oh my God.
Wishing that they had him back. Because how much it is insane. I think Mick and Nikita absolutely despise each other on that team. Yes, that one. Yeah. Mick and Nikita absolutely despise each other from the sounds of it, because, you know, both have a ton to prove going forward. But it is, you could tell there's a lot of animosity on that team. And I look forward to that Drive to Survive episode coming this season.
I think it's going to be like, even last week at Zandvoort, I mean, what was it in qualifying when we saw, you know, they kind of ruined the flying lap for someone there because
it
was Vettel. Yeah. Because they were trying to, you know, jockey for position, even though I think it had been clear that they were letting Mazepin out first, just because he typically posts the faster lap. But I mean, we're still seeing it kind of through the week where they're just, you know, at each other's throats trying to prove, you know, that they've got what it takes not only to be on this team, but potentially another team down the road if they're really looking to kind of like improve and grow their careers within the league, right? So,
and I wonder if that's just like, now we're at the midpoint of the season, or past the midpoint of the season, where, you know, a couple of the early races, as like if you're competing with your other driver, you can get, you know, whatever. I'm not really going to make a big deal about that, but like, as we kind of go into the next segment, but like if anything's out on the line for the remainder of the season, and especially you just, you know, you want to be number one, because nobody likes being number two on a team. And I think the last meme I'll end off is changing the Dutch national anthem to Supermax. That got 3.6 million on is the Sign the Petition website. I forget what it's called. Yes, change.org. Yes. So that one had that. I think that was my favorite one. So now we're getting to the best part. So look, guys, I just had one thing to talk about for the driver's change. And this is when we talked on Monday in our group chat, where is our legendary ice cold Kimi Räikkönen announces that this is going to be his last F1 season in Formula One. And, you know, it's been a great year. He won one world champion. He's been with a number of teams. He's been in this for, I think, almost 20 years, from Lotus to Ferrari to Alfa Romeo. I'm forgetting the other teams, but just the legacy of Kimi Räikkönen. I'll just turn it over to, let's go, Erica. What are you going to be sad that Ice Cold Man is gone?
I'm so sad. It's like we talked about the other week when we were like, which driver would you love to have a beer with? Kimi was, you know, kind of my go-to pick there. I do think it's kind of hilarious that right after he announced that he's retiring, he is out with COVID for at least 2 races. Very, very kind of like fortuitous timing on the part of the guy who really hates press conferences and probably didn't want to talk to anyone about the fact that he was retiring. Mm-hmm. But I mean, anytime we have someone who is a little more senior, who's been, you know, like kind of a mentor, or who has brought so much to the sport and has achieved so much success, it's really sad to see them go. and especially to have such a great personality, kind of step back a little bit. Like, imagine what would happen, you know, if Daniel Ricciardo announced it was his last season, because he's such a character in the paddock. Like, even though Kimi is a little bit more stoic and quiet, he still is so much fun to kind of have around and see talk to people. So I'll be sad to see him go, but you know, kind of wish him all the best, and I'm excited to see, you know, what he gets up to afterward.
Andrew, what's your thoughts on the Iceman?
I think F1 is losing a great character in Kimi. I don't think there's anyone like him. I don't think there's everyone going to ever be anybody like him. There'll always be one Kimi, one Iceman. Just the way he connects with the, you know, I saw a comment on a YouTube video. It was like F1's greatest rivalries. It had, I think it was like Vettel and Weber. It was, or Vettel Alonso. It was Rosberg and Hamilton. And then it was Kimi and the F1 PR team. I just think Kimi's he's such a laid back guy. I think everyone really respected him too on the track. You could tell like he was a big influence in Gio at Alfa Romeo, and he's gonna really miss him. But I don't think the F1's losing a really great guy in Kimi to retirement, and I hope he comes back in some form of capacity later down the road. It would be hilarious if he came back in an analysis role.
I was gonna say FIA. I was gonna say FIA president.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine those like press conferences?
That'd be awesome.
Do you guys realize that he won the 2007 championship by 1 point?
Yeah,
1 point. Oh my goodness.
over I think Hamilton in his rookie year, which was like crazy.
Yeah.
My God.
So he's leaving at this as we stand, as it's September 10th. He's leaving Formula One with 21 wins, 103 podiums, 1,865 career points, 18 pole positions, and 46 fastest laps.
Love it.
So, as we kind of build, go ahead.
I was just gonna say also some killer lines in interviews. Like
Yes.
Where it was like, a helmet has a special meaning for many drivers. How important is it to you? It protects my head.
I love like when they did like the F1 Drive to Survive. They did like the previews for the next season, and it goes like, "Yeah, this is just a hobby for me."
The Marshawn
taking
Lynch.
this so seriously. It's like, yeah, I can quit at any time, really.
The Marshawn Lynch of F1. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Honestly.
You started a Formula One race at 21. If what would you say to that 21-year-old now? Nothing. I wouldn't talk to him.
I still think my favorite Kimi Räikkönen moment is the Monaco Grand Prix, where his car just completely I think he had to pull over, I think engine failure, and then he just walks to his yacht.
Yeah.
Like a boss. He's like,
Just-
I don't
just
care about
sits-
seeing you in the paddock. I'm going to the yacht. Peace out.
Peace, I'm out. Oh man.
I'm gonna miss this.
It'll be sad to see him go. I'm hoping that, you know, he has a good end to the season once he's back and in fighting form again. It would be fun to kind of see what all is happening, especially now that Gio in the Alpha car has just been like crushing qualifying.
Like, what the hell happened? The guy all of a sudden, like, there's some drama in the driver's market, a little bit of, you know, not knowing where he's going to be next year. And all of a sudden, yeah, I'm just going to start performing well. You know, 2 back-to-back Q3 achievements. I'm like, where the heck have you been all season long?
Dude, I need you for my fantasy. This is like, I personally picked you and you're not helping me out. Now you come out and do this.
Well, I don't know.
All I have is just Geo 4 with like 7 question marks beside it after one of the.
That's what I mean. Like, I see him put up these times in Q1 and Q2 today, like 3rd and 4th. I'm like, or is there a glitch, or is this actually Geo?
Or are you just playing F1 on amateur mode? F1 21,
Honestly,
2021 on amateur
The AI
mode.
level's like at 5. Just flying around on his Alfa Romeo.
So leading into it, so that was the big news at the starting of the week, and that actually kind of escalated everything else. So I think there was no secret with this one. Mr. Saturday, George Russell, is going to Mercedes.
The worst kept secret finally confirmed.
There was literally a Twitter account that like tweeted every day, is George Russell at Mercedes yet?
You could just tell in his face, and then the press conference answers like, just announce it. I think they wanted to wait for Kimi to announce his retirement so that they could just announce the Bottas move to Alpha, and then give Valtteri his day so that they can announce George to Mercedes.
Sure.
I think it's more out of respect to Valtteri.
I didn't think, well, actually, I said this earlier in one of the early episodes. I didn't see Bottas going to Williams. I felt like he would have to go to another team, and it would make sense of him going to Alfa Romeo. I felt like if he got offered at Williams, it would probably been a straight retirement. Yeah. I don't know, just like if you want to, I get it. Like you want to, if you're playing at Mercedes, do you want to go back to your home team, Williams? Yes. But like, do you want to maybe try something different and go to Alfa Romeo? But yeah, that did throw me off. It kind of was just like, as we said, when Kimi retired, then George going, and then Bottas going to Alfa Romeo, and then opened the door to Alex Albon coming back in.
Which is so exciting. I mean, he's quite the talent for still being so young, like some of these other guys, but unfortunately, just the way circumstances have unfolded, he hasn't really got the same kind of fighting chance as the rest of them. So despite the fact that it's not the Red Bull car that he was racing in before, I mean, we've seen Williams in the last couple of weeks make some great strides. So here's hoping that having someone with, more experience, also joining Latifi, who re-signed, will put Williams in a good position for next year.
I think with the regulation changes next season, there's going to be a lot of more close racing in the midfield, that area. So I think the driver is going to be really key for your team next season. I think, again, I said Albon, Red Bull's second seat has always been sort of ever since Ricardo's left, it's kind of been, a career adjuster for sure, especially with Gasly, and then Albon taking the seat and then just losing it as, a season later to Perez. So I'm really happy he's back. I think it was kind of, there's a lot of expectations in that Red Bull team for your second seat. And I think Albon kind of got caught up in that. So he's been racing really well with the DTM, like that Red Bull AlphaTauri team in DTM. So I think it's going to translate well. And plus he's been doing a lot of great works in the sim for Red Bull this season. That's where they've been really impressed with him. So I think it's a great move for him to go to Williams next year.
Absolutely. And I think with the team environment there too, because Nikki's already been pretty open, like so excited to, get this team going, as opposed to the more like cutthroat singular focus of Red Bull, it might be a refreshing change of pace. But yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, we've got the different spending rules coming into effect next year, and it might, having someone like Bottas at Alfa Romeo might be like a total game changer. And then the same goes with Williams, having some of these guys there too. And I mean, we're also seeing Latifi do better, and kind of come into his own in the last few weeks as well. So I'm excited to see how this all gets shaken up next year with some of these moves coming into play.
A couple other things that we might have missed. Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda retained by AlphaTauri for 2022. There was also another article that came out earlier this week that Sebastian Vettel, his future with Aston Martin will be determined, I think, after the Italian Grand Prix. So that will be very interesting to see how that kind of.
I'm surprised. Like I figured he'd be there for quite a little while longer.
Yeah. I wonder if I think the expectation was maybe too high.
Oh, yeah. But I don't think Aston Martin's car is good this year. I don't think they did a great job on their car overall, their package this year.
I mean, we've seen them pull some great results out, but it's been inconsistent at best. Yeah. That's for sure. And I mean, for anyone who's got the expectations high on Vettel, I mean, it's very clear that he's skilled, but as we saw even at Ferrari in the last year or two, like if you don't have a good car under you, there's only so much you can do, really.
Well, and there's reports that I think Lawrence Stroll, he's a guy who doesn't like to lose. And I think he's going to be pumping a ton of money into that Aston Martin facility and the team. And I think you need a guy like Vettel. I think he works really well with Lance behind the scenes and as a teammate. And I don't see why you would not want to have a guy like Vettel on your team, especially going into 2022 when the regulations have big changes. You want good drivers on your team, and Vettel, he is a very good driver.
And I think it's also good for Lance to have like that father again, like obviously like the Vettel to the Mick, like that fatherly figure on the team that can like at least be there and just like, hey man, like, no, you had a bad race. I had my bad races too. Regardless, I'm a 4-time champion. Like,
Tell me who's a better driver in the market right now to replace Vettel.
I can't really think of any. What, Felipe Massa?
Oh yeah, exactly right.
Who gets asked? Who gets
2010 maybe?
So who gets to ask Hamilton a question about 1 point?
Oh,
I don't know if you guys missed that today.
Yeah, I saw that was classic.
One of the more awkward moments I've seen in a while. Just so funny.
So Lewis, how do you think this is going to happen? Go down to 1 point of the season where basically Lewis Hamilton beat you by 1 point in your year. I think, was it 2006?
No,
because it was Brasilia. It was the Brazilian Grand Prix where Felipe Massa came 1, and everyone thought that he won. He won the race, but thought they won the championship. And then Hamilton, around the last corner, overtook. People in the comment section, please let us know because we're all blanking right now.
He was dating Nicole Scherzinger at the time.
Yeah.
So it had to be like 2008 to 2010 area. He won what? He won an 08.
I don't know, because Pussycat Dolls were a bit. I'm going off here based on when Nicole Scherzinger was popular, but like, it could have been any time between like 06 to 2010. But
he's got 7.
That's going.
No, I think it was 08. I really think it was 08.
In the comment section, let us know. We're gonna need some corrections this episode. But speaking about the comment section, fan questions. We got some killer fan questions that came in earlier this week. So I'm gonna send the first one to Erica. This one is from one of my people from my fantasy. What do you think of these one-off liveries? Am I saying it right?
Yep.
Liveries being better than the normal liveries. And the reason why we're talking about that is Alfa Romeo put out for their, I think it's the anniversary of their team. They put out a really nice one out for the Italian Grand Prix. Alfa and McLaren's one-off blow. Are they much better than their current ones? Or do you think that this is just for a show? And if not, this is maybe asking for enough. If there's one livery that really stood out, which one was it?
Okay, so to start things off, I love some of the designs that have come out this week for Monza. I think they're so fun. I think it's an awesome way to kind of embrace the history of the team, the spectacle that is the Temple of Speed. Like, it's just so cool. And like Alfa Romeo in particular, I found their car this year, like, it's been very kind of plain and not all that exciting to watch. I've actually thought that about a couple of them. Like, I really miss having the bright pink Force One car on the track, just something a little bit more out there. And you know, I have a background in design and graphics, and in my mind it's like, if you can make the pretty car, which you've now shown us this week, why not always have the pretty car? Because we all know that it makes you seem faster if you look cooler while you're driving, which, you know, would be kind of fun. But I do think that doing these type of libraries is just, you know, a great way to celebrate these kind of more iconic tracks, to help them stand out a little bit more than something that's, you know, less exciting and more kind of typical and expected in a season. But I do just wish that maybe some more of this kind of, you know, like fun look had been incorporated into what we would see throughout the season as a standard, just to, you know, keep things a little bit more interesting. And I don't know, I like things that look nice. Let's make the fast car look nice too.
And again, I know, Andrew, you're a baseball fan too, but like, you know, when the MLB did that game out in the middle of the fields, there's the Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Yes.
Oh.
So they had the old
I love
uniforms and they walked out of the cornfield just like in the movie. It's just like kind of brings a little extra, and especially like the Italian Grand Prix, like this is like the home track for Ferrari and Alfa Romeo. Kind of gets a little of excitement, and I'm actually like really happy that there's actually fans this weekend. I think it's Leclerc said 50% capacity is at least there, but at least like the Tifosis out there supporting the drivers. So I mean, I really like the Alfa Romeo. I think they should just keep it for the whole season.
because it's a nice touch too, right? It's
Yeah.
it's a nice green stripe to it. It's not like they didn't change like the whole livery. They just added a nice component to it, and I think it should be a mainstay for them going forward.
I'm just looking through it right now, and there's so many like fun little details on it too. Like if we're looking back toward the rear just before the wing, they've got like the nice stripes, but they're showing like 1910, the founding 2021. They've got the shamrock in there too. Like there's just some really nice details and touches to it that I agree. I would love to see on the car through the rest of the season.
So Erica, Andrew's very fired up with this question. So we had another fan question come in today. Andrew, are you ready for this? So what is up with Albon wearing AlphaTauri shirts in all of his Williams promo videos and photos? Is something up with Williams and Red Bull? Will they switch PU suppliers? I think Andrew's got the deets on this, so I'm going to send this question to you.
So this is my personal opinion. I think that because in DTM, Albon races under the AlphaTauri brand, I guess, right, for Red Bull. I guess in the event he may have just forgot to wear any Williams clothing, they didn't provide it, or just figured, hey, it's white and blue, same colors as us, just put it on. But hey, you never know. Like F1 has got so many tricks in its bag, has so many behind the scenes things that we don't even know about. So they could be switching PU suppliers, but I just think it was more so the timing of it than the underlying issue. I think we're making a lot out of nothing in that case, but again, we never know.
I thought it was so funny. Like when you think about all the money and how long this was probably in the works, it's like, really, you couldn't get him like one white t-shirt that had Williams on it? Really?
Well, it could also be a thing too that like maybe it's like a Red Bull gesture to say that he's still under the Red Bull team, but we're like, it's kind of like a loan deal to Williams.
Or just like kind of like in his contract, he can't wear any other outfit until maybe like the end of the season. So that's actually probably another reason why he couldn't actually put on another team's because I actually don't think I don't think we see that last year. No, we didn't see that last year where the drivers, when they announced their changes, that they, other than people photoshopping on social media, but they just said, yeah, I'm going to, like, for example, Vettel's like, I'm going to Aston Martin next year in a full red out Ferrari outfit. And he's just like, yeah, I'm doing this.
It probably is contract. There's probably contractual obligations there to not do it.
Yeah, because some of those sponsorship deals, there's like timelines and such in them. And I mean, last year was also an anomaly too, because the 2020 season was like a little bit more affected by COVID than what we're seeing this year. So that may have a hand in it. Also, Vettel was just really done with Ferrari at that point, I think.
Yeah.
I'm crying over here if anyone's watching the pod. So so at least happy thoughts. Yes. Being a Ferrari fan, the Italian Grand Prix, we are going to Monza, aka the Temple of Speed. I don't know about you guys, but I've had this marked on my calendar since the calendar actually came out. Yeah. Not because that Ferrari did so poorly last year. I think there's this renewed optimism. I mean, unfortunately, Leclerc and Carlos Sainz said that this weekend does not look like the weekend for them. Having said that, I'm very hopeful for a 2019 Leclerc win. But I guess what's everyone's thoughts going into this weekend? And we're filming this on Friday night, so we might have already watched the qualifying.
Well, qualifying in quotations.
Qualifying, not
the real stuff is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Erica, you go first.
I'm super excited. I think this being the second time that F1's doing the sprint qualifying at the Temple of Speed will be so hectic and so fun to see. I mean, today, just even watching people in qualifying, trying to do an out lap while someone else is on their flying lap, like it was just traffic all over the place. So I think we're going to see some very competitive racing this weekend. And as like you said, like it didn't look like it was going to be the weekend for Ferrari. They were P7 and P8 coming out of qualifying today. But I think the opportunity is still there. And I think going into that first turn is going to be absolutely insane. And we're going to see a lot of action happen there that's just going to completely shake up the grid, which is, not out of the norm, but will be very fun.
I I agree with that. I just even driving like Monza on the F1 game. It's such a fast track. Like you can go all out the entire way, except, the chicanes are quick, except for of course, the first one's not, the first chicane's more of like a 90-degree turn that I open it. But like the remaining chicanes are so quick, high speed corners. I do think it's going to be a little tough to maybe overtake there.
Yeah.
Depending on, because it depends, it's really dependent on the constructor's flatline speed this week. Like I think Mercedes are going to blow the doors off of everybody this come weekend, and I think Hamilton's going to win this by at least 20 seconds. I don't see Red Bull being that competitive just based on their package right now. Like for Monza, I think Mercedes has got them in the bag, and but again, this was like Pierre Gasly won the race last year. Expect anything to happen here. So I'm looking forward to such a crazy race. Sprint qualifying and the race are just going to be a time. And plus, it's Monza. It's a beautiful circuit. So I'm really excited going into this weekend. And like you, Ricci, I have this one marked down because it is you cannot miss a minute of action there.
Like, it's just crazy of just the track and just the history, especially, we talk about Max Verstappen winning the Dutch Grand Prix, and anytime a Ferrari driver can win in Monza or the Italian Grand Prix, it's just like, it's amazing. We saw that in 2019 with Charles Leclerc. And then like when Michael Schumacher won it, I think it was the 2000 season where he tied Senna, and he got like very emotional at the end of the race. I mean, even like when Vettel won it in 2008, just like, it's just a very exciting track. And, if Lewis Hamilton can win this, I think this will be his 6th time winning at the Monza. So like he will overpass Michael Schumacher's race. And I think he is still, Hamilton is still sitting at 99 F1 wins. So he's still trying to crack that 100. So if he can pull this off at Monza, like that's just another check mark onto the belt of his career. So I'm really excited. Like I would, like when we'll get to the predictions, I think it's pretty safe bet on who we think will be on the podium. But if we talk about 2020, like you had the safety car on lap 20, and then you had Lewis Hamilton go in when he wasn't supposed to pit, when the pit lane was closed. And yeah, anything can happen on that first turn, especially you mentioned that, Andrew, when like, as anybody who's going to be watching the video of me trying to play this track, anything can happen on that first turn.
Like I think if Hamilton didn't have that, Hamilton didn't give himself that penalty last year, he would have won no problem. So I really think Mercedes has the package to just absolutely dominate this weekend, and I'm expecting a Hamilton victory by far, with no shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I'm also on board with the Hamilton victory. I mean, basically what we saw today in qualifying was that no one can touch the Mercedes. Like even Hamilton on his best lap, kind of coming in under that 120 and the 119s, is still several tenths off what they're putting up there on the board. So I think it's pretty safe to say that on this track, their Mercedes is going to be sitting pretty and doing well.
I think McLaren's going to have a very good weekend.
Oh, great qualifying, both for Norris and Danny Rick today to come in at 4-5 there and almost lock out the second row. I mean, I guess they will be locking out the second row, assuming that everyone kind of finishes in a similar spot, what with Bottas going to the back of the grid. But my goodness.
You see that Danny Rick post qualifying interview today? It was so weird. I was like, is he okay?
So I haven't watched it yet. I need you to kind of walk me through that one.
Andrew, give us a play-by-play, man.
So he was talking about, I think he was a little upset the fact that he just couldn't pass Lando. I think it was like 6 thousandths of a second off on Lando's quality time. I'm just going to confirm that. Yeah, 6 thousandths of a second off on his quality time. But he kept looking to the left and just like into outer space. So I something's on his mind, but he was answering the question, and he just seemed internally, he mentioned something about there's an internal issue. I don't know if the love's all there right now in McLaren for Danny Rick, but
look,
I really hope he does well this weekend. Like he really needs a podium this season, and we missed the shoeies. We need a shoey. Hope he gets it this weekend.
It's funny that you mentioned that, like, internally, Erica, you go, not only Eric, but the fans, you got to really watch these post-game interviews, as in not post-game, post-race interviews. Had my different sports at the throwing it off on a Friday night. Yeah, because we saw these stories of him and Lando being best buddies when he was at Renault, and like Lando was still at McLaren, and they walk by, they jokingly say, and then just like the minute they get on the same team, like it's just internally, like, or is Andrew, or is he pulling a fast one and he's probably like quitting F1, or there's some secret deal that just comes out of the middle of nowhere, like he takes Checo's spot again.
I don't know. I think, well, he signed a 2-year deal with McLaren. I want to say he signed a 2-year deal, but he did that with Renault last year, like his last deal. And then that next season, before the 2020 season started, he announced his transfer to like McLaren. So who knows? He could be in an Aston Martin car for next year. All I know. Right. I think there was maybe in the fact, I don't know if Danny towed Lando quite a bit today. And the fact that he towed Lando quite a bit and he's only 6,000 seconds off of him, I think Danny Rick is going to have a strong performance this weekend. Just being able to do that, because we saw Perez or Checo, he towed Max and he's like 7/10 off. He is so far behind Max when it comes to that tow. So I'm really curious. I don't know what's going on at McLaren. They keep it tight. They keep it pretty tight-lipped around McLaren. I don't think Zach Brown wants to get any of that out. But yeah, I don't know if Lando and Danny are as tight as they used to be, because I think Lando's a very competitive guy going forward. And I think there's probably a little bit of animosity going into that paddock, where I just think Danny needs to understand he's not number one anymore. You're past your prime, buddy. You are the number two. So enjoy the races.
That's definitely got to be a bit of a bruised ego on his part there, for sure. Especially, like you mentioned, if you're knowing that you gave someone a tow and you're still so close, you're just like, what if I hadn't been the one giving the tow? I could have, done so much better.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter today. Like tomorrow's when it matters. Like relatively speaking, you think it should end up around the same, but again, anything can happen here.
Yeah,
I don't think I watched. Go ahead. Oh no, you go, Erica. All you were ready. I was just gonna throw a curveball.
But people have kind of been talking about that, even early on in the season, that Danny Rick and Norris weren't really the bromance that everyone was hoping for, and that really it was more like Tsunoda and Gasly were giving everyone the kind of like touchy-feely vibes, which we've seen through like so much random promo content that's gone out. But I think we've got two highly competitive guys, one who is still, trying to build his career a little more to show everyone what he's got, and the other guy who is known to be a good racer but is getting a little older. And so you've kind of got these competing egos, and maybe the team doesn't even quite know who to kind of put their eggs in the basket for, because Danny Rick is definitely doing better in his first season in the McLaren versus what you saw at Renault a couple of years ago. So I think it'll be worth seeing how the rest of this season pans out, but I think there'll probably be some murmurings before the 2022 season if, it's not very clear where McLaren stands and if they're not really managing these two boys to the best of their ability.
Speaking about senior, did you guys see that F1 troll photo of Kimi Räikkönen? So they had his Master Splinter and the 4 Ninja Turtles of, I think it was Lando, Russell. Oh my gosh, guys, help me here out.
Is it George?
No, I said Russell, Albon.
Oh, right.
Oh, who's the fourth one?
Max.
Was it Max? Yeah.
I think it was Max, yeah.
And they had it like Senior Splinter, like kind of walking them out but with like Kimi on the name. And then like they were walking him out. And then like 20 years later, it's them walking Kimi out. Because the turtles are all grown up. Anyways, so speaking about seniors, but yeah, I actually I totally agree. It'll be interesting because especially now that Ferrari's ahead in the constructors, and like I wonder if Zach is like, okay, like Daniel, you got to pick it up, man. Like we need to, if they want to have a successful season, P3 is in the constructors is like their ultimate goal, should be the team goal right now.
Yeah. I think 11 points on Ferrari this week is going to be catchable for Mercedes, just considering their performance. I think they'll be able to tighten that gap. No offense, Ricci, no problem.
I as much as I want Ferrari to do well this season, this race, it's a tough track. And as someone who, as Andrew, as you saw me trying to race the track yesterday, it's I was all over the place, man. I crashed. I took out Mazepin, and
that was the best on stream. Ricci spins out one of the corners at Zandvoort, and Mazepin tries to avoid him. And as he does, Ricci backs into his back tire, and Mazepin literally just goes all the way into the wall and just terminal damage everywhere. And I was like, yes, amazing.
And I was like, this is where I end the stream. He ended
the stream right away. I was like, dude, where'd you go?
I dropped the controller. I'm like, I'm done. This is what I needed. This is what the people wanted. And speaking about the people, they want to know your predictions for this weekend. So let's talk about last weekend. Sorry, Andrew, nobody thinks that you deserve a half a point.
That's okay. Yeah, you have to pander to the public at one point, and if they, you have to give the people what they want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So Erica got 2 points last week because she said Max Verstappen, Hamilton, and Checo. I got 2 points last week because I said Max, Hamilton, and Checo. And Andrew got 1 point last week because he got Lando, and Hamilton. So, people, Temple of Speed, the Italian Grand Prix, what is your podium prediction? And also, who do you think is going to surprise us this weekend?
So before we dig into predictions, I just want to point out that I'm really mad at anyone who created like Word or Excel because it corrects Lando to Landon every time I type his name, and it's just very annoying.
Just add to dictionary.
I think that was targeted.
But it's like they should just do better, Microsoft and Google. Just do better. That's me sitting here in my little Burlington apartment. Just do better. Anyway.
Like, how do you not know who Lando Norris is? Like, come on.
Just get with the program, dude.
I know how you're feeling, Erica, because today I was working in a document and then in a Word file, and then all of a sudden, like I was getting redlined on everything. Turns out the proofing language is in French. I had some button that flipped from English to French. I was like, what the hell's going on here? So as soon as I flipped it back, everything cleared up.
Or my favorite is when you're typing in a document and you I forget what button it is, but you hit this certain button and then instead of like spacing, it just deletes the word. And you're and you're freaking out. You're like, oh my gosh, how do I fix this?
Yeah. Or like when you actually hit Control N instead of Shift N and you type a whole new document going into it, you're like, oh God.
So anyway, now that I'm done lamenting about word processing, my predictions for this week, based on, what we've seen, again, this is kind of colored by FP1 earlier today, and then again by qualifying, I'm putting Hamilton in the top spot, hands down. I think he's just going to run away with this. I'm hopeful that with Bottas starting at the back of the grid, we're going to get Max in P2. He's still putting up a competitive time, but not, he's not going to catch Hamilton in my opinion. And then again, we're seeing McLaren do really awesome. So I'm not giving up hope on Lando, or Landon, as Word would say. And I'm so hopeful he's going to get P3. If he gets P2 and passes Max, which is entirely possible, I think that would be even better. But just based on kind of knowing how this season has gone, Max's skill, and being hopeful with the Red Bull car, I'm going to say Hamilton, Max, and then Lando in third.
Awesome. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. No complaints there. Andrew, what do you think?
Likewise with Erica. I've been saying this with, throughout the pod today, that I think Lewis and that Mercedes package is just an unstoppable force this weekend. If they lose, it's on them. It's not on, they're not going to win. They're not going to effectively, like, no one's going to beat them. They're going to lose this race if they're not finishing one this week. So I think Lewis, number one. If since Valtteri's taken the grid penalty starting back at 20th, I will say max 2. But I'm going to go off a little limb here, and I think it's just Ricci's freaking weekend, and he is finishing 3.
You're going 3 for Ricardo?
I'm going to go 3 for Ricardo. I think
Ooh.
he's got a point to prove, especially after today. I think he's going to beat Lando in the McLaren. I just have a good vibe about Danny Rick. This could be backfire tremendously on me. I don't care. Hamilton 1, Max 2, Danny Rick 3, and watch out for Lance Stroll this week because he's traditionally performed very well here at Monza. I know he didn't have a good day today finishing in P12, but again, hey, Monza, Temple Speed, anything can happen. Who knows? If there's a blockade of people in the midfield going into turn 1 and just crashing everywhere, just got to get out of it. And I think Stroll's going to have an interesting weekend, to say the least.
All right, so I think it's no secret, just based off my thoughts and what we've talked about in the pod. I mean, I would love to I don't see Bottas going from 20 to 2. I don't see him pulling like a Checo. So I'm gonna go P1 is gonna be Hamilton, P2 is gonna be Max, and P3 is gonna be Pierre Gasly.
Honestly, not the wildest claim I could think of. It's entirely possible given how he's been doing. So,
and my surprise is going to be Carlos Sainz. I think he's been driving some pretty decent races lately, not drives, but races lately. So he clearly shows that he's comfortable in the car and he's able to prove himself. So I think he's going to be the outlier this race. But as anything happens at the Temple of Speed, just like we saw in 2020 in that podium, I won't be surprised if Pierre Gasly somehow pulls it off if there's a bad crash on the first turn. So that was our predictions. So Erica has Hamilton 1, Max 2, Lando/Landon P3. Andrew has Hamilton 1, Max 2, Ricardo 3 ?
I will die on that hill if I have to.
And then I am going Hamilton 1, Max 2, and Pierre Gasly P3. And we're not rewarding points on outliers, but any last closing comments leading into tomorrow's sprint, which it's my first sprint to watch because I missed the last one.
So it's more so not really comment. I just want to show you two something. So in spirit of Monza, Temple of Speed, as well as with the Schumacher documentary coming out on Netflix soon, I have a pretty special poster to show you guys. So back in elementary school, my mom whisked me away to Hungary, back to my homeland, because I'm part Hungarian, to go to a horseback riding camp. So I wasn't very good at horseback riding the first time doing it. And then also I didn't really speak the language. I can't really speak the language, right? So I would usually just stay in and just train in the inside, in the indoors, while everyone else was going roaming in the fields and stuff like that with the horses. I became good friends with the horse trainer there, and she was a big F1 fan. And around the time, Schumacher was a very big, it was huge, right? He was an idol. And so she made a legit poster for me to take home. And I'm going to show you right here. This is what she drew.
Whoa.
Yeah. So everyone can't see it, but I'm going to get it framed. I've had this since 2007. I kept it in a nice casing so that it wouldn't lose its touch. So I'm going to go get this framed or laminated at Staples, and then I'll send a picture for the pod so that you can share that.
So talented.
Yeah, this is pretty special this weekend.
So Andrew, tell people in the pod what exactly it is.
We'll do. So it's an actual it's a hand-drawn poster of Michael Schumacher in the Tifosi red, in his kit.
Looks
with
beautiful.
The Michael Schumacher style helmet and everything like that. So it's a work of art. It is beautiful, and I'll share a photo with both of you so that we could post it, Ricci, and share that with everybody on who listens.
I'll definitely post it in the next pod, because I think we want to get this one up tonight, so we can make sure people get right before they go to bed, they want to hear our beautiful voices for 45 to 50 minutes. Special guest Erica has brought her cat back into the pod.
He's being overly chatty, and I don't know if you've heard, but he got stuck under the bed that's beside me and was just kind of like every once in a while. So he's been here, he's been listening, and he's had a lot to say.
Oh, he's cheering for Ferrari this weekend. That's what your cat's doing.
He just stuck his entire paw in my mouth.
So on that note, thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 4 of the F1 podcast. I am your host, X Ricci, with my 2 brilliant co-hosts, Andrew.
Bye, everyone. Good luck this weekend to those racing.
And Erica.
Bye, y'all. Thanks so much for listening.
And thank you so much for the support. We are excited for this weekend at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. We'll see you guys in the next episode next week. And happy racing this weekend. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Twitch and on SoundCloud so you can hear the great beats. So again, thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.